been waiting for you. The Flower of Freedom by Deborah J. Reeves is what you found. This is chapter 79. Your chair is ready as always. And we're just thrilled that you're here. Simple as that. So this is chapter 79, Reorientation. Take your seat. Make yourself comfortable. Here we go. In truth, she wasn't sure what she was seeing. She snuck up to the room occasionally with the intention of exposing people who were having a dinner party in the room. But she always found Bertie resting and smiling. He was always wanting her to come in and chat with him. No one ever wanted that before, so it took her off guard. So she sputtered and sat down for a moment. The young man was an interesting and kind interlocutor. She ended up telling him about her nieces and nephews in the French that she had practiced at night school. She said that her sister was a good mother, and he replied that he thought he would like her family, and that warmed her heart. After talking more than she had spoken to any patient in a decade, she realized that she had to get back to her post. She jumped up to leave, and the young man begged her to bring food next time she returned. "I need food. I'm famished," he yodeled. 2 full days after Bertie came out of the coma, Marie got her first opportunity to be alone with Bertie in the hospital room. For her first full day, until they were evicted by the closing bell, they were limited to 10-minute visits with 2 people. The next day, it was 10 minutes twice an hour, and by the 3rd day, the nurses gave up altogether. "Man, am I glad to see you alone, Marie. I need to tell you about the strangest thing that happened while I was unconscious. It's realer than real, but I'm worried that it means that I'm going nuts, so you're the only one I can tell." "Talk, I'm listening," she said. "I had this experience where I was in this big tube of glowing white that seemed to go on forever. It was like I was inside a fluorescent tube, but it didn't hurt my eyes. It was as though I was in some sort of current, drifting at different speeds, sometimes fast and sometimes slow. Then one of the kids from the other team floated past me. He was still in his hockey uniform. I remember him from the game. He was sort of rat-faced and mean. And then he said to me, 'I didn't mean to kill you. Your father didn't have to kill me back. He didn't have to break all my fingers.' And then he sped up and he was gone." Marie just looked back at Bertie, waiting for more. "That's not all. Next, the coach from the other team came along. He told me that he was sorry that he killed me. He still didn't think it was fair that my father killed him, and then he told me that my father didn't have to break all his fingers and his wrists, too, not to mention his neck. And that's not all. After the encounter with the hockey guy, after what seemed like I'd been swimming in the current for a couple of hours, a pretty little girl who was about 12 or so came floating up like she was swimming on a summer day in a river. She took one look at me and she started to scream her brains out. She swam so fast to get away from me that it was as though she turned into an outboard motor, and soon she was out of sight. And that's not all. It seemed like I kept swimming for about 10 more minutes. I was very determined, but I was in no great hurry to get to the end of that tube, and an old man with a German accent came up. He swam right over to me. We were suddenly standing on a submerged sandbar so we could stand up. He shook my hand when he saw me. He told me that my father had done him a great kindness by murdering him. He said that he had left me all his money and to spend it wisely and invest wisely. He told me in a whisper that my father was not as bright as people think, but that my mother was a real sharp cookie, so I should always listen to my mother. She's not useful when you need someone to kill you, but she won't steer you wrong. Listen to your mother, he said. And then he went at motorboat speed to the top of the tube. Not long after that, I was told by someone that I did not see, "It's not your time, Bertrand. You must go back." And the current suddenly turned in the other direction, and it was like Niagara Falls pushing me back into my life, and I woke up in this hospital. Marie blinked and said, "Bertie, brain chemicals can do weird stuff when your brain has been knocked around. I'm glad you told me, but maybe it would be good if you didn't tell anyone else." "Yeah, I take your point, Marie. Papa has never been anything but good to me, never. Why would my own brain call him a murderer, and why was that girl screaming at me?" "Bertie, I always tell you the truth, and this is the truth. You are looking for logic in one of those art pieces where monkeys throw paint at a canvas. In a coma, your brain is both the monkey and the canvas. Don't tell Mama and Papa about that experience unless you want to hurt them, okay?" "Okay, I get that. Mama is still a wreck, but about not flying over when her baby boy is in the hospital. I think this is hurting her more than it's hurting me. Papa doesn't seem to be doing much better. He says all the right things, but he sounds like he's talking to me from the bottom of a well. You better call him again." He agreed not to tell anyone about the coma experience, but he seemed relieved that he had told Marie. She had always been his rock. When the time came, Marie left the room, and after he finished telling her about his experience, because Suzette and Michaud came to the room with a basket of fruit. Michaud said, "There are candies in the bottom." He said it in his best conspiratorial tone. That's the end of chapter 79. Bertie is coming back to good form. I hope that you'll come back to good form and come and see us again for chapter 80. That's called Turning to Jelly.